is up? You're listening to 91.5 WUML Lowell. And I am your host, DJ Hans, DJ Dad? DJ Clocks for Tots. DJ the Human Fund. And I am joined here by the boys in Matriphagy, who last year, actually close to about a year ago, they made their debut here on Stress Factor, and now they've returned. And they're all grown up. So yeah, boys, welcome back.
Thank you for having us. Yeah, great to be back.
No problem. And also, just for any, in case nobody's keeping score at home and they forgot who you are, let's introduce the members, starting to the gentleman here.
I'm Christoph. I play rhythm guitar.
I'm Devin. I do the other guitars and stuff.
I'm Dave. I play drums.
I'm Mike. I screaming stuff, you know. It hurts, but it's good, you know. You sleep on it. You're fine.
See, now once the EP or the album is ready, in the credits, I need to see that, like, drums and stuff.
For sure.
Either that or do the pretentious Fear Factory thing, where it was like, Dino Cazares, rhythm harmonizer machine thing. Guess I gotta get it, yeah.
I saw this one band, they just, like, credited themselves as letters. So, like, rhythm guitar was X.
Yes.
Oh, that's
drums
edgy.
was L.
I like
it was
that.
just, yeah.
We'll come up with like 35-year-old like basement dwelling black metal names.
We're going cult, bro.
Oh yeah.
But in about the span of a year, just listening to the set tonight as compared to the last one, well, mind you, the last one I enjoyed, but like this one I felt like, okay, this is a different sounding band. There's musical growth here.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate that, man.
Because I mean, there was a lot of the cool, like, brutal and tech, like, death metal stuff, but I picked up like this little black metal kind of tremolo there. There was like a punk rock thing that was going on early in one of the songs.
Oh yeah. We like to jump around the musical spectrum. We don't like to limit ourselves as just like one genre. If we are inspired or appreciate some form of riffing, vocal technique, we're like, let's make it work with our style.
Gotcha. I mean, because Mike earlier requested GBH, so which is funny because like when I met you, you weren't really into punk or hardcore.
No, I've been listening to a lot more hardcore lately. Really getting into it, just like all hardcore, like.
We got them.
Like I've been listening to like GBH and Black Flag recently, but like definitely around the time I left last year, I was listening to like some like 90s like hardcore like beatdown stuff. So
right.
I've just been floating everywhere over the anything heavy, anything that sounds dirty. It's like the Oscar the Grouch of anything dirty. That song. We'll get copyright if I sing it. Sorry. Oops.
But anything dirty. So my mind immediately went to just like, because I recently discovered on satellite radio that Vivid, the porn company, has a station. So I was thinking like, Vivid. Because I started one of the cars at my job, and I'm sitting there having my coffee in the morning, and I'm messing around with the channels, and I land on Vivid, and I'm like, Vivid, like porn company? And I hear these two ladies, talking about anal scenes, and I'm just like, alright. So I proceeded to change a lot of the stereos to the Vivid channel. Unbeknownst to my coworkers, I'm like, you're going to hear these scenes.
They're going to get in the car with their friends. Their friends will be like, what are you doing?
What are you listening to, dude?
It's on my station.
So, long story short, Vivid should sponsor Matriphagy.
Down.
Yeah.
Yeah, send us a check. matriphagymetal@gmail.com. We'll get back to
Just
you.
get in contact with us, Vivid.
Want some of those samples?
We'll also sell your merchandise with our logo on it. That's totally fine with me. I'm not going to get into what kind of merchandise it is. I think you all know. If they have any.
Yeah. Also, you could do the Dying Fetus thing. They had a Dying Fetus thong.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the Matriphagy thong could be a thing that's happening in the future.
True,
Matripathon.
See that? That's mine's
See,
working there.
it works. Yeah. It works with everything.
So yeah, Vivid, whenever you're ready with that check,
Right.
the boys are waiting.
Yeah, we're waiting.
Speaking, of like, although because of band stuff in terms of, because I failed to realize because I never got a band off the ground, but I've roadied for bands. I sort of managed a band for a little bit. I realized how expensive it is.
Totally, yeah.
So that's why we need those sponsorships. And how do you guys make it work? Because working full-time jobs, and then finding time to practice and write songs and then record songs. Because I know you guys have been spending a lot of time with Jamie here, recording some stuff.
Yeah.
The bits he's shown me sound pretty good, so I'm excited. I want the whole thing.
Awesome.
We're looking forward to getting that wrapped up.
Yeah.
And we do have the ability to practice every single Monday, and we barely ever get to miss a week, so we spend a lot of time every single week together, and it's been paying off.
Like you said, we grew up, so we make time like adults. We're like, oh, we need to do things, so we make time in your schedule. That's how it works.
I think one thing that helps is every single person in the band, like, this is what they want to do. Like, outside of, like, working full-time, like, this is everybody's main passion.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of bands have that, like, they don't have the same chemistry where it's, like, if we have to, like, I've quit jobs before. I'm sure these guys have to, like, do shows. Like, when it comes down to it, like, all of us prioritize the band as our top priority.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, how do you do, like, are your jobs accommodating to do the band
Yeah,
stuff?
we all have it worked out differently. None of us are from nobody lives in walking distance from anybody. We're not like a
Right.
band. We're all from the same town. We all met each other from the scene, so we're all from pretty far away.
On
So,
Vivid.
we all have our own financial, situation. Some of us, got everything worked out. Some of us don't. It's you work on it.
Gotcha.
Mike's riding the rails, but he does
I'm
a lot
riding
of
the train.
dedication.
They all got cars. I'm riding the train everywhere.
I see, the hobo lifestyle.
Oh yeah, it's fun. I call it the cowboy lifestyle. Cowboys road train too.
I see, because
I don't sneak on them. Okay, I'm a respectable New Englander, I guess.
See, because I was closer to the hobo lifestyle when I used to live in New York City, because I was in the
Oh.
Bronx. I would just hop the train anywhere. I got pretty good. I could avoid not using my Metro card.
Oh, there you go.
That's the way to do it.
Buying loose cigarettes. So my experience was closer to the hobo experience. But so considering
You're a cowboy. Just hobo. You don't need
that
that.
ain't no cowboys in the Bronx.
It was when you were there. No.
The last cowboy.
No,
Yeah,
that's-
right.
you gotta make a movie about you now.
Hey, Spike Lee. You want
Spike Lee, listening.
you want in on this joint?
Spike Lee and yeah.
And Vivid. Let us
And
all know.
Vivid.
Hey, do you want to get into the legit picture business?
Oh yeah.
We definitely know they're both listening right now. They're just laughing
It's funny.
all the way to the bank.
I saw something yesterday. Pornhub's welcoming all the Tumblr community because Tumblr's banning all of its adult content. So Pornhub's
Oh, that's right.
like,
Yeah.
Pornhub's like, hey, we're gonna be the new Tumblr. We have photos and videos and everything. It's like, damn.
Hey, shout out to you, Pornhub.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't usually keep up with that, but it's good to know.
I don't visit. I don't visit those websites because I'm busy at home studying my Bible.
Exactly.
But shout out to you.
We're a Christian band. This is a Christian.
If you like POD, you'll love us. But it's considering that you guys still have the opportunity to jam and kind of work together. Do you think there are benefits for a band to be able to physically work with each other and jam in one room? Because I know a lot of bands, especially once they've reached it to the touring or national level, for example, I was listening to an interview with Revocation, and those dudes, I think Dave still lives in Massachusetts, but I think one of the guys is in California. There's another guy out of the state.
Yeah.
Yet they make it work. So is there a benefit to being able to be basically localized and be able to meet up on a consistent basis?
I definitely think so. I mean, if you want to practice and get tight with like a group of people, like first and foremost, they have to be people you'd normally be friends with outside of playing music. And if you hit it off on that level, like being able to practice regularly is like super important. I think. I feel like unless you're like somebody like Revocation who's already at that point where you've played X amount of shows, like you're on major labels and you have that experience, I feel like getting a band going, like practicing together in person is like super critical.
Yeah, it also definitely helps out songwriting wise because instead of it just being like I was watching an interview with Suffocation, the past few albums they kind of just like had all the material written beforehand, like Derek and Terrence would work on it, and then they'd get into the studio and be like, all right, this is what you're doing. And you can hear like, all right, this song was written by this person, this riff came from this person, where every single one of us has like an influence, so we kind of, every song's different from itself. It's kind of hard to pin. Like Chris definitely has a unique riff style. Like when I hear one of his riffs, I'm just like, oh, that's a Chris riff. But to like when we put it together in a song, it's not like, all right, Chris came up with this idea, Mike came up with this idea. It kind of creates its own sound.
Right. It doesn't feel like it's by committee. Or,
Yeah,
or by assembly.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's not one person with a whip. Whoosh.
See, I was thinking like, who's wielding the whip in this room?
No one.
Definitely
That's the
Mike.
secret.
Like
What?
no.
It's a cowboy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's the cowboy.
It was right under our nose the whole time. But like I mentioned earlier, you guys have been spending a lot of time here in studio, which I appreciate because we want to expand more. We want to get more bands recording here.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And how's the experience been for you guys? You've been enjoying it, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely helped us grow as musicians too, because you know when you're in the studio, you're able to figure out where you.
Yeah, I'd say like the biggest thing about studio time is it really gives you an honest look at how you're playing. Like you can't really like sit and listen to something that's not 100% and be like, yeah, that's fine. Like it's anything you need to work on is really brought right in front of you, and I think that's like super critical. Like if you're humble about it and you're just like, all right, like I really need to work on this, or this sounds really good, and maybe you weren't even giving yourself any credit. It's a good like gut check to see like where you're really at.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like anytime there's a studio or recording aspect, whatever the set goal is, it's like 4 times as long as it, because you always run into like technical issues, writing issues, date conflicts. Like that's the big one is figuring out dates, especially for studios. Like our friends in Begot the Nephilim, they just put out their album, but they spent 5 years recording it, and the main issue was like they couldn't get to the studio on time. And that's one thing that's kind of helpful with Jamie. He would like send out like a few days, months in advance, be like, all right, let's book this up, and it kind of has a mixed thing, because we're definitely driving to, like, it's not like we're staying every night in the studio and just working like 24/7. Like we're all like commuting here, which has its like it has its own like I guess you could say like pros and cons, because it's like within an hour for us, and a lot of bands like when they want a specific sound they travel like out of state. Like I've heard of bands like traveling like across the country, going like cross seas. Like Seven Spires is a band that's had their work recorded and mixed like over in Germany, and it's nice to be like close to home, but it's also like most of our, if not all of our, like first studio introduction. Right. So we're still like getting to the ropes, working out all the flaws, but it's been a good learning experience, and I feel like it's been very beneficial for the band and the EP as a whole.
Yeah, because the idea is to record an EP, but right now the focus is to get the first single out and ready.
Oh yeah.
Do we have like a timetable of when do we think the public expect the single?
Yeah, we're not totally sure at the
No.
moment. Sometime. Yeah, we spent some good money and got some really killer artwork, so we want to make sure that when we're done with it, it's like 110%. We have to tighten up some stuff on it, but we don't want to give a definite time frame, because the last time we did that,
Like
yeah.
I remember, if you ever like I would talk with bands like that. I would find them after shows, and I'd be like, "Are you guys coming out with a new album?" And they'd tell me like, "Yeah, we are, and it's coming out then." And you know when they were right? Never. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna drop any names, but like I was talking with.
We're looking at you, Metallica.
Yeah.
You lied, Lars. Necrophagist.
Yeah, right.
About that album.
About that album
how
from
about
that
that?
interview from 2009.
Yeah, and like I talked to one band. They said that they would have it out by. I talked to them in like the fall of 2016, and I said, "When are you guys gonna have your new album?" They said by summer 2017, and it's almost 2019, and I haven't seen it yet. So, when before we started playing, I would as a fan I'd think to myself like, "Well, what's taking them so long?" And now I know what's taking them so long. So
yeah, you gotta respect
life.
Yeah, exactly. Life happens, You gotta be patient.
That said, Maynard from Tool, stop lying, people.
Yeah.
Yeah. New Tool album. 8 years in a row.
The last Tool record came out, I think I was still in high school.
Oh, really?
I'm 31.
Damn.
So yeah, Maynard, what up? But yeah, because since you mentioned the new artwork, that was my next point. Is that I've been tracking you guys a little bit on the interwebs, because A, I'm lonely, and B, bands that have performed on the show, I usually make sure to follow up with on Facebook, Twitter, what have you. And I noticed you guys had the logo, you're announcing a lot more shows, sharing a lot more stuff. I'm like, all right, Matriphagy's doing things. They're definitely hustling out there.
Oh yeah. Both the artwork and logo were commissioned by actually this young Swedish kid who's also the guitarist of Gravebomb. His name's Patrick, and his company or brand he goes by is Chainsaw Design. And his work is phenomenal. It's got that old school like Dan Seagrave-esque feel to it. It's crisp in color, and he's done a few other artworks. Like he's done all the Grave Bombs, or Gravestone. I forget the name.
No, it's great. Yeah, you got it right.
Yeah, well, yeah, and he's got a very unique artwork style. And I've seen Infidel Amsterdam and like and other people like starting to like pick up on it. Like I found out about him through the Obituaries, which is Trevor Snod's column on it. He shared one of the albums, and I saw the artwork, and I was like, "That's perfect for our style." And he was really affordable. And it's great to like reach out to small artists. You don't have to pay like $5,000 to some
For somebody's ego.
Yeah. Exactly. It was a really good package, and he's all his band is. I definitely recommend checking out. It's got that old school Swedish death metal feel. It's phenomenal.
I mean, you mentioned Dan Seagrave, and immediately I'm like, the metal nerd in me is like, yes.
Yes, exactly.
Although I can't think of the name of the guy who did the artwork for Sepultura's Beneath the Remains and Rise.
Oh, that's it's right on my.
Tip of your tongue there.
If I remember, Colin produced them. If I remember correctly, who did the
Yeah, because it was they recorded those in Florida at Morrisound.
Yeah.
With Scott Burns. Who was the artist? Alex Whelan? Something like that?
That sounds.
So somebody tell me I'm right.
Everybody's on there.
Yeah.
No, Dave's gonna beat me to it.
All right, as we await that in the is Hans right? Because can Hans retire?
Let's see.
But yes, before I let you boys go, what's coming up in terms of shows?
Our last show of the year, we're playing down in Waterbury, Connecticut, which we love playing Connecticut. It's actually our first headlining show. We're playing with Scout the Pioneer, Community Misery, Locked Out, and our good friends in Anarchy Inc. It's a last show for the year in January. We're gonna spend focusing on the EP, and we've already got a few shows opening up that we can't really talk about yet for next year.
So that Connecticut show will be at the Brooklyn Cafe.
It is Michael Whelan.
I was halfway there. Why did I say Alex? Anyways, that's gonna torture me on my drive home.
We don't have much scheduled so far. It's one show that and then I think we have maybe a second one that we've talked about. I think that we had a pretty good
We don't have
last
anything
year.
solid lined up, but we're in the process of lining up shows for next year. I don't know if you heard, we were hoping to play Hothfest, but unfortunately it won't happen this year.
No, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were excited for that.
We were really excited for that.
We are trying to get busy. We're trying to get on RPM Fest, so if anyone wants to go out there
Hey, you
and
know
vote
what?
for
Yeah,
Matriphagy,
RPM Fest.
by all means,
we
vote
always
for us.
make a point to bump RPM Fest here on the show. As soon as the lineups get announced, we're talking about it. So hey, promoter head, what up?
What's up, John?
What's up, John?
Yeah, John's great. We've worked with him in the past, and we look forward to it anytime. So
Yeah, he's a great dude.
Definitely one of the better promoters in the area. Super easy guy to work with. Puts on great shows and puts on really stacked bills too.
Oh,
We
yeah.
got to play with Burial. And
Oh,
they were
yeah.
freaking
Yeah, that was
sick.
a fun show.
Also, Richie Downs up in Manchester, New Hampshire is putting together a lot of shows.
Yes,
Richie,
he is.
what up?
Oh yeah.
What up,
Yeah.
Liz?
Oh yeah, our first show was actually New Hampshire booking show. He was one of our first helpers in the stage. It was what was it? Origin defeated Sanity of Visceral Disgorge was the Bloodletting tour a few years ago.
Yeah.
We won the open poll, and Richie is actually the one that threw us on there, and that was awesome.
I mean, that's a hell of a bill to be on.
that was our
You
first
showed,
show.
so, yeah,
Asshole.
thank you to Richie for that.
So it's like, all right, boys, you know how to swim? I'm okay at it. Don't matter. Here's the ocean.
Yep.
Have fun with the sharks.
It was fun. There was a lot of local support there too. So
Yeah.
people that I didn't know from other bands, I ended up
Yeah, we
meeting them
made-
through that show.
We
And
made a lot of friends that night. We ended up playing with them later on down the year, so that was fun.
All right on. So, final bit. Before we let you go, where can good people find you on the interwebs?
You can find us at Matriphagy, go on Facebook and look up Matriphagy. We're the only one that looks like a metal band. All the other pages you'll find are like spiders and stuff.
Posers.
Yeah,
And like
that's cool though.
Wikipedia pages.
Spiders playing metal though.
We do have like a few live videos on YouTube too. If you search Matriphagy live, they're kind of hard to find, but they're out there. That's a thing. We'll probably do an Instagram, some other stuff. For like official stuff, if you want to get in contact with us for booking, hit us up at Vivid. I mean Matriphagy Metal.
Yeah, we're not part of the Vivid Entertainment.
We're not partnered with Vivid just
We
yet.
want
But
that production value though.
yeah.
Also, some of the young ladies, if they want to be in the video,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let us know.
Now we got Mike.
Yeah, I'm you know, you can't see me right now.
What are you, John Cena?
We are also on Bandcamp as well. So
Yeah,
oh, yes.
anything new that we put up, we're gonna throw it right there. Hopefully, we get something from this.
Yeah, we're definitely trying to see if we can put one of our live recordings up. We haven't found anything that we're like totally happy with yet, but once we do, we'll be putting something.
Or a
up.
perfectionist.
yeah, because my guy Kyle, who filled in for Gene, who's Kyle's the real MVP tonight. He he's pretty boss at that whole engineering thing, so I think we can mine some gold.
Yeah, we're excited.
Big ups to Kyle.
What up, Kyle? But that is it, boys. Again, thank you, and maybe we'll do this next December.
Yeah, sounds
We
good.
always look forward to it.
It seems like you guys are the official Stress Factor Christmas band. Because last year was our Christmas show, because it was a couple of days right before Christmas.
Yep.
And this year, it's the first of the two Christmas shows. Tonight's Glocks for Tots,
Oh yeah.
where our fake charity, we try to donate as many guns to the kids as we can. So yeah, maybe a lucky kid gets a Tech 9 tonight.
We want the streets in the right hands.
We gotta round up our weaponry and see what we got.
Oh yeah.
Friendly fundraiser. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And all the other cash that came in is going to the Human Fund, Money for People. Shout out to my man George Costanza.
Yeah.
He's running the tech ship. But yeah, again, boys, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome. Thank you for having us, and check out Prelude to Evisceration when it comes out.
Next year, hopefully.
I've been behind the scenes of some of the making of it. I know it's real. I've heard Rich.
Everything you heard tonight will be
Yeah,
on
we'll
that.
be on it.
Yep. Little sneak peek for you.
It'll feature a cowboy in vocals. That's the only detail I can give you. But before we go, we got a little time for some Black Crown Initiate, and maybe throw in a little nail bomb before we completely wrap up.
Oh.
But
Very
yeah,
nice.
so the Glocks for Tots holiday special continues. 91.5 WUML Lowell. I am DJ Hans. DJ Dad?
D.
DJ Volvo, because I drive a boring car.
Let's do.
That's the way to talk about off the air. Anyways, Black Crown come out.
Oh.
Sorry, my language wasn't perfect.